Hello and welcome back to this tutorial. In our previous video, we ran our first Tkinter application that contained, well, just the window frame and a title, and we also gave it the geometry. So in this video, we are going to start working with the Tkinter widgets. But quickly, I'm going to show you the various widgets that we have in Tkinter. But quickly, I'm going to talk about the two types of widgets that we have in Tkinter. So we have the Tkinter, that is the direct Tkinter widget, and also we have the TTK widget. And I think I've explained this a little bit, and I say that the Tkinter widgets are the widgets that were created at the onset. They are the widgets that were created at the onset of Tkinter. But over time, as things got more modernized, the developers felt that the Tkinter widgets are looking a bit old-fashioned. So they introduced this TTK widget, which are the sort of modernized form of Tkinter widgets. So we are going to making a full comparison of both of them and when to use which and what to use for which. So here on this slide, we have the TK widget by my left and we have the TTK widgets by my right. And if you notice, almost all the widgets that are in the TK section are also in the TTK section. So the TTK widgets are more of the improved version of the TK widgets. But there are a few widgets that did not make it to the TTK version, and that is because some of those widgets are used to interact directly with the operating system, such as this canvas widget is something that allows you to draw on the interacting system, draw on the canvas, right? Draw on the interface. All right. So we also have so many other ones. So we also have the top level, the pane view, option menu, bitmap image, and photo image. So you find out that some of these widgets are very sensitive to binary files, and these other TTK widgets are more of a high level configuration, right? So there are also some that are here, but there are just a few and they are not here. So some of them include the tree view, the progress bar, and the notebook. All right. You may be confused since I can find a button here, and so there's a button here, check button, entry frame, label, and all the most commonly used widgets. You find out that they are on both sides. What should you use? Well, the advice is that when you can use the TTK widget, you should go for the TTK widget. But when you do not have the TTK widget and you have them in the TK widget, please go for them because it was not an oversight not to integrate them here. It was because of the nature of their use. That is why they were not integrated in the modern version. So let's jump back to our VS Code to continue with our project. And here in our VS Code, we are going to start working with some of those widgets. So alongside the widget, we are also going to be working with the layouts because as you're creating the widget, you are placing them on the canvas. So for now, I'm going to run this, and now we have our user interface. Now I'm going to start demonstrating how to use some of these widgets. So if I want to use a button widget, so I can create a button and say that button is equals, so I can say that button is equals, if I want to use the TK, I will say TK, right, dot button. So you can see the button class here, and here you may need to pass in and here the first thing you're going to pass in is where you want to place this button. So, and you can set it to this master attribute, and then you are going to say, well, for now, window. So I'm going to explain this later. And a bottle should have a text. So you can say you pass in a text and then you want to write in what you want on this text. So I can say click. So and I'll run this. So the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to call the pack button. So I'm going to say button dot pack. But I'll explain this in a bit and I'll save and run. So now we have a button here that says click, right? And that is it. So I'm going to explain some of this thing, this items here. So what it simply means is that we created a variable called button, and it is the button contained in this Tkinter, and we are setting the master to window and then the text to click. Now if I remove this master and I just run this, it will work perfectly fine, right? And we still have the click button. So what happens here? Well, when you create a widget, so this button is a widget. So when you create a widget with Tkinter, the first thing you're going to tell Tkinter, or you're going to pass in that widget, is the exact place you want to place it. All right, so I just passed this window because this is the only available platform for me to place it. All right, so assuming I have something like a frame. So a frame is a widget that allows other items to be placed on them, and it also helps the styling of those items a bit. So I'm going to create another variable or another widget here called frame, and I'm going to set it to tk. So for now I just want to be using the tk dot frame. So you can see we have the frame widget inside the tk module, and I'm going to pass in window, and that is it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to pack this frame. So I'll do frame dot pack. Okay, then I will save and run. So now you are basically not seeing any difference, right? Because the frame is just like a platform that allows you to place other items on it. So instead of placing this button on this window, I can now come and place this button on this frame, right? So on the window we have a frame, and on the frame we have a button. So basically we are not seeing any difference, but this is the structure of building with Tkinter. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to clear my terminal. And the next thing that I would want to do is to add other items on this frame, right? So now note that I've been using Tkinter, so I could change it to ttk now, and also the button to ttk. So and I'll save this and run. So you now see that the button looks a bit different and is a bit modern, right? So that is the use of the tk and the ttk. So when you can, you use the ttk. So when you can, you use the ttk module, but if you can't, or if it's not convenient, or if the item you're looking for is not found on the ttk module, you can use your Tkinter module directly. So we are going to be exploring other widgets, and we are going to be exploring the check buttons, the entry, the label frame, the radio button, just so many of the Tkinter widgets. So we can decide to create more widgets here. But before we do that, let's talk about this attribute here. So this pack is the keyword that allows you to place the widget you just created on the screen. The first widget that is packed will be placed before the other, right? So now that I have a button, I can decide that I want to have an entry field. So I can call it entry, that is an input field, and I will now say that it's going to be ttk dot entry, and I'm going to pass in where I want it to be. So I want it to be on the frame, and I'm going to just save. So most of the time an input field, you might not really have much you want to type on it. Nothing has happened now because I just created the entry widget and I did not pack it, right? So I'm not seeing an input field there. So I can now say that I can now call the pack method. So I will now say entry dot pack. So and I save this and run, right? So now you have an entry field just before the button field. Rearrange this and have the button before the entry field. The UI is going to reset itself. So if we run this, we should have, well, a reverse positioning. So these are the things, some of the things you can do with the Tkinter library. So you can play around with all the widgets that I showed you and try to know what they do. And for each one, you pack them and you arrange them. Right. So thank you so much for watching this video. In our next video, we are going to be looking at how to style your Tkinter widgets, both the TK widget and the TTK widget. So see you in the next one.